Welcome to the TheLanCave, where we're living as nerds. I'm Patrick, joined by Owen.
I was trying to think of a tagline for this week, and I got nothing.
Yeah, I was trying to think of some too, something witty, something I don't know, punny.
Been saying new things other than just hello to like mix it up, and I was like, "What's going on this week?" And I was like, "DC comic movies and shows."
Yeah. I mean, I played a little bit of games. You said you did some more watching the shows and the new movie.
Yeah, I like how you're not going to do any moving things so as to not immediately get striked.
Big brain.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I've got HBO access right now. So I've been going through some stuff that I missed, but I started with the brand new hot to theater / HBO at the same time. Please let this keep going on when the pandemic ends. Awesomeness, like even if HBO eventually starts charging for it, like a la Disney, because you've seen Disney can get away with it, I still want that to happen. I don't know if I would have paid $30 to watch Suicide Squad. I probably would have paid $15 though, which is what HBO costs. It's not bad. It's decent.
Yeah, I loved it. Okay. Ultra violent. That's another reason why I didn't put a lot on really here, because it's like I was really happy with it. No spoilers here at all. It's James Gunn, so going in that it's going to be over the top. It doesn't take itself seriously. You're going to have some heartfelt moments, but for the most part, it's just a ride, and that's actually what I like about it. Some subverting expectations, which I enjoyed, and Harley wasn't the main focus, which I appreciated because they know they can sell having Margot in that role. But the movie didn't need to focus on her the entire time. I mean, that is a positive. Love Harley Quinn. Birds of Prey became a Harley Quinn movie. It was good, but man, who was your favorite character? So no spoilers, but who was your favorite character?
Amanda Waller. Honestly, what is it? Who's that? Viola Davis?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, dude, she kills it in this role. Like, this role and her are like, just like Margot for Harley Quinn, which I was talking about with some people. Like, you can just whatever psyche is in Margot, like other than Tara Strong, like Margot just goes really well as a Harley Quinn. But dude, Viola Davis just kills as Waller.
Yeah.
Also, I've decided, if you want John Cena, here's the secret, folks. If you want John Cena to be a good actor, turn the volume down a little bit and turn on subtitles, and then just let the writing do its job. Because admittedly, it took me 3 tries to get through this movie because I kept turning it on so late. I would put my kid down to bed. My wife had zero interest in watching this movie. So the first 2 times I tried to watch it, like 10:30 at night, fell asleep both times.
You were zapped.
And the volume though, I watched the whole movie in pretty like low volume, and there were some lines that John Cena had. I'm like, that's funny, but I didn't have to hear John Cena deliver them.
I will say, even with his delivery wasn't terrible, because he's supposed to be so hokey that, like, I said back in the day, I said when they were talking about casting Shazam, I said he'd be a great pick because he's hokey, because he's what 5-year-olds think a superhero is going to be. My buddy Frank, I stole a little bit of that from, but he's what little 5-year-olds like look up and they're like, I want to be like that. I'm really big and strong, and I tell the bad guy, don't do that. And it's really corny, but that works for Shazam, and it worked for Peacemaker.
Yeah, that's true. There was some funny exchanges between him and Idris Elba, like, who also did a pretty good job. So I went from that, and I was like, okay, I'm going to start giving DC a little bit more of a chance. I'm not going to watch very many more of their movies. I might pop in Wonder Woman again someday, but the trailers for Wonder Woman 1984 look so bad that I just have had little interest. So I went to TV and I started watching Little Titans.
Did you start from the beginning, or?
Oh yeah, I've never seen it.
Okay, I haven't seen it. Okay,
never seen any of it before. Not bad. It's still it still has a few things where you're like, again, super violent. That's been the hardest part for me. I'm a big Dick Grayson fan, which is the other reason why I start, and pointed towards Titans, because I think that Dick has been robbed, on the silver screen. Not that Chris O'Donnell did a terrible job, but he didn't do a great job. He didn't do even a good job, but the writing was also really bad for Batman and Robin, and then Batman Forever, I thought he did fine.
Yeah, for what was
Since then, though, they've done nothing with Dick's character on screen, and so
we had a nod. It wasn't to Dick Grayson, but Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
just
Spoilers for the Dark
the
Knight.
mantle, yeah.
Yeah, spoilers for the Dark Knight Rises. But that was more like a nod, like, oh, we could have done that, but we didn't.
Yeah. That's Christopher Nolan being like, here's what you're never going to get from me because I'm done with this trilogy. Yeah. And so it's nice to see him on at least a screen as live action. And the dude playing him is actually doing a pretty decent job. But also, like, the turn that they took with Dick is like, Dick is just like hardcore in this first season. It's... Like I said, it's decent. I'm working my way through the first season. I can't remember her name right now. The person playing Starfire is doing a really good job. And apparently it's been renewed or is coming with a season 3. So HBO has kept it on the air. They did the same with Doom Patrol apparently. So I might watch some Doom Patrol after I finish this, but I can only really do one of these comic shows at a time or I'm going to burn out. And then I probably still have to check out What If at some point, but at least that's animated, so there is a little bit of balance.
Yeah, I'm hoping with real quick on What If, and then I want to bounce back to some Batman stuff. But first episode dropped actually today. I didn't know. Literally hit that power button on the TV.
You mentioned it, and I was like, okay.
Yeah, I literally sat down with some Chinese food, and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna watch this.
What kind of Chinese food?
So I got Szechuan chicken with some chicken fried rice, and it's from a local real place. And by local real place, I don't mean like the fast food Chinese, really low quality. It's pretty good quality, and it's the rule of thumb. Asian
Just
people
curious.
eat there, so therefore it's good. Yeah, you don't like Szechuan?
That's okay. I'm more of an orange chicken or a General Tso's.
Okay.
Or, if we're going straight up box Chinese food, I want some orange chicken.
Okay, gotcha. This place does does mushrooms in their Szechuan chicken, which I opt out of. I don't know, it's a texture thing. I'm picky on it, so I just add some broccoli into there. So it's pretty good. But yeah,
anyways,
that was
back to What If.
So What If, first episode, liked it. I don't know how connected these are. They seemed to be they would be it was going to be very episodic, and that's just if this happened, and that's just if this happened. But they may be tying them together, judging by. Did you finish the episode?
I haven't watched it.
Oh, okay. I thought you said ultraviolet. Still no spoilers.
No,
I don't know.
is ultraviolet.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Your text message back. Sorry. I thought you were talking about that, but maybe I misread.
Yeah. No, I said I've been watching Titans, which not bad. Ultraviolet.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, it doesn't trust me. It doesn't spoil anything. It just the way it ended. I was like, they could connect this, or they could just leave it at that, because we know we've got these slices of what if Peggy became the super soldier. What if is T'Challa is Star-Lord, or is in the Guardians. I'm like, I don't know if that means they're going to be all episodic. I expected them to be. The ending of the first episode could mean that they're connected. We don't. It's not like there was an Easter egg, just story wise. I like it. I feel like the voice cast is really good. By the way, I'm looking through the credits because the voice cast is legit. Haley Atwell and everybody
who got robbed, by the way. Her show got done dirty.
Yep. I haven't seen all of it, but I liked her show. It was cool and got to fill out. I liked that better than I liked Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. when I was watching them. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. was I felt like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. felt like a 90s TV show.
I don't know, dude. Just, I watched that whole thing.
Yeah, I'm just. It was just the way that some of it was written. But then again, I love X-Files, so I can't really talk here. But
yeah,
no,
I watched that whole series. It was decent stuff. I think what they're doing though is just kind of splicing out things, and you might see some nods to the show in Doctor Strange. I bet that happens because now that we have the multiverse with Loki, no serious spoilers there, but the Doctor Strange's title is literally like the Multiverse of Madness, so you guys know it exists now. So I can see some nods to this animated series from Doctor Strange, just if they want to, just little things they can be like, hey, look, there's Peggy Carter with a shield. That's crazy.
I'd like to see that, like maybe in some flashes when he's like looking through the different multiverses or something, or you could drop those in. I just noticed, or I just came up on my feed today because we were talking about like DC. Just flip back over to DC before we talk about video games. Speaking of video games in DC, though, I'm still waiting. Gotham Knights is delayed till next year. Or I think that's not necessarily news. That may have been old news. Gotham Knights is 2022 now, I think. And Suicide Squad still doesn't have anything firm, from my understanding. I'm more excited about the Suicide Squad game based on the trailer that I saw. Gotham Knights is going to be cool, though, the multiplayer aspect.
Apparently there was was there a new trailer or something?
I didn't see.
No, or maybe it was just a tweet. I literally thought I saw something pop up. Somebody like squeaking something on your end?
Yeah, actually, hold up one second.
Okay. I was just making sure.
No, that's
making sure.
Cricket.
Oh, okay. Cricket. You got to know what a crumpet is to understand cricket.
Nice. That's a good one.
So what's totally funny about that joke, as a kid, I didn't understand it.
You didn't understand that?
I didn't get the joke because I was like, what does crumpets have to do with cricket? Like, I like eating her crumpets. So I was like, okay. And then later it was like rewatching the trilogy as an adult, and I was like, oh my god, that joke makes sense. That's such a good joke.
Man, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movies were great. I like them all for different reasons. I know 3 people didn't like as much, but the first one's, I'd say, the best. I mean, other than we got Bebop and Rocksteady in the second one, but
Toka and Razor?
Was it Toka and Razor?
Yeah, Bebop and Rocksteady aren't in any of them.
I thought it was Rocksteady. My bad.
Toka and Razor.
Man, take my card. I was just thinking, like, I just didn't like the... looking back at it as an adult, 2 is just really corny. But that's what they're trying to do.
Go ninja, go ninja,
go ninja. Yeah, exactly. But when I was a kid, I was doing that dance. Because I came out when I was little. Yeah.
That's what I said. Like, whenever it comes to things like talking about like Space Jam 2, which... a lot of people have. I'm like, you literally have to look at this through the lens of a child. And even then, some children might like it, but I was like, I hate to tell you this, people, but Space Jam 1 is also not good. Like, Bill Murray saves that movie, but after that, the movie is just like, okay.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things of, like, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 1, I think, holds up for anybody. Like, it's very of its time, but at the same time, you're like, dang.
It's actually a pretty well done movie. I could have used more Shredder in it, but it's a pretty well done movie. And that was totally to set up, future stuff. But before we go into video games, I wanted to mention, did you see the news, speaking of Robin, did you see the news that came, recent, I guess it's a recent comic book news on Tim Drake? Yeah. Which, apparently I haven't read the comic book yet, but apparently it was subtle. It wasn't done in like a, in a look, I'm shoehorning in something. Like, it seemed to be organic from what I hear, and haven't put a label on it. But Tim Drake expresses, or either says, or it's a thought bubble, I don't know, but basically having homosexual thoughts or attraction. And I don't know if his character is going through like learning about that about himself, but I thought that was cool for them to do with the character.
Yeah.
I mean,
I don't, it's one of those things where it's not for me. I mean, not, and whenever I say not for me, I don't mean like him being that way is not for me. Like,
yeah,
I'm not going to read it. What I mean is it's not done for somebody like me. Whoever's
sure.
writing this story is not doing it for me. And if somebody feels a little bit more included because a character like Robin has an arc like this, then whatever. Like, that's the thing that, things like this used to bother me, not in the sense of somebody being made something that they weren't before. Like, we've had this discussion of like different characters being different colors whenever they're historically one color.
Sure.
And the thing that I just understand now is like creative license, bro. Like, we're talking about a series of characters that have a jillion universes, like, Earth 1, Earth 2, Earth 616, Earth whatever, and everybody gets to write their interpretation of a character. I mean, anybody who's been on Archive of Our Own any time of their life, or fanfiction.net, I guarantee some of these pairings and some of these things have already happened, because that's how it is. And it's one of those things that you see this thing, if you're gonna get bothered by it, stop for a second and then don't be bothered by it, because it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It's just a comic character, it's just a video game character, it's just a movie character that somebody took and made their own version of, and that really shouldn't bother you that much.
Yeah. No, I agree.
That's my thing on it. I haven't read comics in a while, so I have no idea like what the state of DC right now is. I kind of stopped after the New 52 kind of went downhill, and I know that the New 52 is already dead, and they've already moved on to some other things. I really loved the Nightwing run in New 52, and then they took Dick. And again, anything to do with Dick Grayson, I'll probably like at least glance at. But then they tried to make him a secret agent, and I was like, "What is this? No, put the mantle back on. Get out of here."
Yeah. I think they were trying to do something different, because they're like, well, Nightwing's kind of just following directly in those footsteps. No, he's not. Like, he's still his own character. And that's one of the reasons I'm looking forward to Gotham Knights, though, is to see those different characters and the differences, other than it's just like, oh, you're this, this Robin or Batgirl. Like, I want to see those different characteristics come out in the story aspect of it. Yeah, I agree. Like, the inclusion is extremely important. Someone reading that may be extremely important and impactful for that person. And sometimes it could be something subtle. Just the fact that they're represented is important. Like, Bobby Drake came out in the X-Men the X-Men comics. And I it was a little Freudian slip, but he came out of the X-Men closet. Yeah. And they I don't know if he's bi or gay or what, but it doesn't matter. Like, it was like, okay, this is part of this character, and it didn't change who the character was. Like, it's just like, oh, like that's just a part of that character. So yeah, it's all about inclusion to me. Yeah, it's like you said, the same thing when someone's like, oh, like someone cast who's a different color than they are in the comic book. Like,
I remember I got him to it with somebody who had a problem with the Little Mermaid, the new live action Little Mermaid, and this was like this Facebook rant, and they're like, the character is white, and I was like, the character is mythical and doesn't exist in real life.
Yep.
And even if she did, who cares?
It's a mythical character, and depending on where like regionally, like whatever. The Hans Christian Andersen version, she's even younger, if I'm not mistaken, and she's blonde. She's not a redhead. So is that a problem if she was? Yeah. So we could just go down the rabbit hole nitpicking. Sam Jackson.
I don't know. This kind of thing happens all the time, and it just as I get older, you would think I would get more curmudgeon-y about them changing things, because you get old and you don't like change, and now I get more curmudgeon-y about people caring about things that they actually don't care about. That's my stance on just so many different things, like politically speaking. Otherwise, I'm like, stop acting like you care that much.
Did it stop you from living your life the way, like, really? Yeah. No, you're good. You're good.
There's just so many things, but you know what? There are also so many things of.
What?
There's a lot of video games out there.
A lot of video games, and
There
I'm
was a good
ready.
Nindy World today, but what are you playing
I
right
did.
now?
I didn't watch the Indie World. I'm back playing Jedi Fallen Order because I didn't finish it, and I'm going to be
You,
playing Man of Medan later this
you
week.
playing
By the
on
way,
PS5?
so I wanted to test PS5 because PS5 is optimized for
Yeah,
and it's on Game Pass.
they
So
did
I'm
a
like,
PS5 upgrade for free.
yeah, exactly. So I upgraded both because I'm this
Cool.
nerd. I upgraded both, and I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to experience both of them because it costs. I already owned it on PS4. It's on
Yeah,
Game Pass.
yeah.
Upgrades are free. Let's just try them both out. So I'm doing that. I literally started a new character on each. So I played the tutorial with one, or the like kind of intro area with one, played it with the other one because I didn't want to go too far into the story. I'm like halfway through the
Yeah.
PS4 version. I'm not going to do that throughout the whole game, but I just wanted to get an idea. And so far, not measuring frame rate and having tools out like that, um, it feels like maybe the way the Xbox like processes it feels like the Xbox is like a little. It's like pushing it a little, like the colors a little bit more. Like I don't know, the sound also. Xbox is optimized for Dolby as well. So kicking on Dolby, so I set my Xbox to Dolby for my bit stream out, and surround sound that may have had a part in it because it's playing DTS on the PS5 and it's playing Dolby on the Xbox. Visually speaking and auditory speaking, for some reason, like the Xbox, I felt like it had a little bit of juice to it. I'm going to keep trying it. It may have been just me. It may have been the Dolby soundtrack. Maybe the visuals were exactly the same.
I don't know. I think this keeps feeding into what's going on with the PS5 hard drive. Not in a bad way necessarily, but it feels like their hard drive got like so custom and whatever that like people are just having a difficult time with it. I mean, if you look at like Ratchet, even Ratchet
Mhm.
was a super beautiful game, by the
Mhm.
way. Awesome. It was one of the most prettiest games I've ever played. But there was also issues with it. There was just issues where like it loaded weird, or like I fell through the world, or like just some of that polish and stuff. And I have a hard time saying that was like on the Insomniac team because I know they've been working on it a long time. So I wonder, I'm like, is working with this new hard drive like tough? And then it makes me also wonder then if you're going to start running PS5s off the new SSDs, I'm going to wonder, like, I would almost want to be like, not I don't have the hardware or anything to test or do any of this nerdy stuff, but think about downloading a game onto your PS5 internal hard drive and then downloading a game onto your like WD Black and running it against, which it looks like Digital Foundry already did. So
That's
like,
exactly right. So I brought up Digital Foundry here because I didn't even know if you saw it, but
I
or you
did.
probably saw it. Yeah. So Digital Foundry had it in here, and because they went through those, and thankfully people do that. I'll be doing more tests like that, but like this, like Digital Foundry showing that it ran really well. This is on the Samsung 980 Pro, as it says up there.
Yeah.
In fact, it outperformed the internal hard drive in a couple places slightly. I don't know if maybe it is partially that the dips aren't really bad, going between 60 and 58 or so on a cutscene. They could have been hiding some loading during the cutscene, and while the PS5 again the SSDs are really quick, I think they're hiding during these segments. That's technically a cutscene, and they're hiding some loading elements in there. So that's probably why the frames dip. But at the same time, I mean, this is a compare and contrast of the internal and expansion internal tells me that as long as you're getting a decent SSD, then I think you're going to be fine. I think they're just going to optimize that internal even better. That's my opinion on it. Yeah.
So because I've just been hearing several things on like the comparisons on these third-party games that are running on both series and PS5, and it seems like a lot of the time people are not. I mean, not in every single instance. There were some instances where like I heard the optimization on one game was crashing on the series and it didn't on the PS5. But for the most part, in terms of like visuals, I'm hearing better things about the Series X. Now, I want to be perfectly clear. We're talking about almost negligible differences. Like, if you don't have a good TV, you're not going to notice things like that. The things that you're going to want to care more about if you end up with both consoles is doing these like digital foundry type things and being like, is the Xbox version dropping frames? Is the PS5 version dropping frames? Like those kinds of things.
Yeah. In a big
But I
way.
have
1
heard
or 2
that
frames
I've heard that things are running, or it just seems like they're running better on Xbox, and I just wonder if that's just how they designed the architecture of that hard drive. Like, it's so crazy and fast, and everybody talked about how this is like one of the fastest hard drives ever made, and then it's like, does anybody know how to use that whenever it's that good? Like,
and maybe, I mean, I don't think it's necessarily like the level of the cell technology that was in the PS3. Like, that was very foreign. It may be that optimization for this type of SSD, because this SSD architecture, utilizing those, like, I think there are 5 separate chips that all work together, works differently than the standard SSD, the M2s that are in this PC. They're in, the expansion is M2 there. I think that it works. They're both NVMe, but there's a different architecture, is the best way I can explain it, not being a hardware expert. And people like Mark Cerny and others like maybe like talk about how amazing fast the system is, but if you don't have the games, it doesn't matter. I mean, back in the day, the Jaguar had like the best graphics, and I knew one person. So I was about to say I knew no one. I knew one person who had that console, because the games were on Nintendo, the games were on Sega, which were still great consoles. These are negligible things. These are things that the fanboys and fangirls are going to like latch onto, but it doesn't really matter. Both consoles are great. I love both of my consoles. I had to make a difficult decision to like figure out which one to optimize. So my test with the test, by the way, that I'm talking about with Star Wars, I'm doing both through the same preferred connection, like just to make sure I don't have a bias there. But not. I'm like probably less than 1% of people are doing stuff like that, like I am. The majority of people just want to sit down and enjoy it and play the game and have fun, especially console gamers. Console gamers want it to work. They want auto updated. They want it to update while they're sleeping, so they can just play the game, right?
And it's probably like 1%. No, it's probably more than that, but it's like 1% of that 1% actually managed to obtain both consoles so far.
I am the 0.1% apparently, because I got both consoles. I do have the justification where I'm like, well, I want to have it to be able to talk about on the show with the millions of dollars that we make on this. But like, I paid for the rose-colored stuff. No, like sometimes we make purchases like that where we're like, I want to experience it for fun, but also I want to have the knowledge, because I don't want to sit here and just talk smack about one console versus another when I haven't played with both. I think I told you,
like, to the guy who pre-ordered the Steam Deck. So
exactly. Well, I had a friend of mine. This is during the pandemic. I had a friend of mine who's local who has a Series S drop off a Series S. Like, yeah. I was like,
I'm hearing great things about the Series S.
I want one. So he dropped it off. This was during the pandemic. He dropped it off at my doorstep, and like I tried it out. I was like, this is pretty good. It's not. It didn't have the same resolution as the Series X, but the load times were great. I'm thinking about putting one in the bedroom.
I did running like Flight Simulator, right? Which is like apparently one of the most beautiful games you can, like, if you want to do some TV testing. Yeah. If you want to test out your TV, man, I would download some Flight Simulator on your Series X. Apparently it's awesome, but like and that you need to use the internet mode. If you use the internet off mode for the game, that it isn't good. So
interesting.
But he played it on his Series S, and he's like, dude, I don't understand how the Series S is doing this. Like, he said
$300.
He made it clear that he was like, I was running it on a 1080 TV and everything, so like, don't get me wrong, like, I know that it's not going to be the same as my Series X, but I don't know how the Series S was running this game to begin with. It's so crazy how good and how well it ran. They made whatever they did on that Series S.
It's,
if I had a need, if my kid was older, or so, if my kid was older, I'd probably give him a Switch. But if I had a need to do the bedroom gaming or something like that, like it would be hard to ignore. I have too many options as it is. I'm inundated with choice that, like I said, I took a break after beating Skyward Sword this week to just watch some stuff instead of play some stuff.
Yeah. No, I get it. Like, I think, especially for $300, that console, $200 less than the PS5 or Series X. I know the digital's $400, sure, but for $300 for a game that's playing all these systems, and it's a system that they're going to be supporting because of the architecture. Like, you have future-proofed yourself for $300. Maybe you don't have the Series X, and I will say, if you're sitting there with like a 1080 TV that happens to have a 60 frames per second. If you can do 60 frames on 1080 and HDR,
that part's harder.
Don't be. Yeah, I'm just saying. Like, don't. If you have those things, great. 1080, 60, you're still getting a lot out of that, and you future-proofed yourself for when you do get that upgrade, when you do get that better TV. Wait for them sales, and you get that good TV, and then your console grows with you. The Series,
that's a Game Pass box. Dude.
It's like a Game Pass.
You can literally never buy a game for it.
I think that's what they want, though, is they want you to do that and because also the more people who jump in because you have a subscription, you're tied into it. That means that you're looking at their games, you're looking at their sales more often because you have that. That's what they're banking on. They make more money because they not only are making money off you monthly, but they happen to have you logging in repeatedly. It's a more subtle version of the what are they called? Like, they're just like straight up login bonuses and stuff that they have for like certain games.
Yeah,
we're like, here's your weekly pack or whatever. It's even more subtle than that. It works. But speaking of storage and all that and geeky stuff, would you believe that Windows Central said readers prefer the Xbox storage? I'm not going to disagree.
What's the beginning of that website name?
Yeah, Windows. Yeah. So, when I read the title, I was like, so bias group prefers the thing that they're already biased on. I will say I agree with a lot of what they're saying, though. The way that the like it says here, Series X, hands down, it's so simple, takes 3 seconds. You can have multiple cards, they're hot swappable, performance is indistinguishable, all that. The first one there is Sony's asking regular people to open up their console, figure out the right storage, since they couldn't be bothered to provide a specific list of card names, and talking about heat sinks like most people even understand what this is. Thank you. Because if you're listening to this podcast and you listen to other podcasts like this or anything, you probably know this stuff, or you're a little geeky. You may have not dealt with a heat sink before. You may have not, maybe you haven't installed an SSD like that, but you could probably Google the steps and you'd feel kind of comfortable. The average person doesn't want to do that, though. And sliding that card in that series, man, that's simple.
Yeah, the thing that I want to know, and while from a simplicity standpoint, it's great. The thing that I want to know is, when are other people going to make the card? Because that's the difference. Is Microsoft always just going to have this deal with Seagate, and is that going to be the only drive in perpetuity? Yeah. Because I didn't get one because I talked about this offline with Patrick. I've decided I don't care about expanding my internal storage until I hit some wall where I'm trying to install a game and I can't install it, and then I'll get mad, as I do, because I get mad whenever just like in real life, I get mad when there's like clutter that I run into or something. You can see this, and there is clutter behind me, but it's not on the floor. Like, I don't like running into things. I have a thing about like not having a place to put down like my drink or something like that. If there's like clutter on table, I'll get upset. If there's digital clutter and all of a sudden like my hard drive is full, I will get upset, and I will instantly go add something to cart and buy it so that I don't have to deal with this again. I'm not going to deal with that now, but I saw a 1 terabyte hard drive for cheaper than you could expand your Series X hard drive.
Okay.
Now, it wasn't a lot cheaper. It was like $20 cheaper, but cheaper's cheaper, right?
Sure.
Like, so when do we get the third-party action to reduce the price in expansion cards? Because that's the difference.
Yeah, it's $220, right? Xbox Series X.
I think so.
The series. The last I checked, that Western Digital and the Samsung, that's the Western Digital Black and the Samsung 980 were on sale for $200. So that's maybe what you're.
That's already cheaper.
Yeah, so it's already cheaper for the same price, for the same amount of storage. Whether one being faster than the other, I mean, I'd have to see a third-party game loaded on external on both the Series X and the PlayStation. I'd have to see that, like that Digital Foundry test. Honestly, that's negligible at this point. But if they're around the same price, then yeah, the hot swappable aspect and the ease of just sliding in the slot on the series, I think that is commendable. But you're right, you're locked in. It's just this one proprietary Seagate card, which is $220. Sometimes it goes on sale.
Is that the only size too? Is there a 500 gigabyte card, or is it just the 1 terabyte card?
I thought they had a 1. I don't think they have a 2. I think it's just the 1.
Let's see.
Yeah, you double check while I vamp, but like I'm pretty sure it's just the 1, because on like Amazon, if I remember correctly, you can select, but when you click the other one, it's a USB. It's not at the NVMe slot. It should be 1 terabyte.
Microsoft.com.
Yeah.
So storage card out of stock. $219.99. There's only the 1, and so that's the other thing too. Like, say right now, I could pick up the 500 gigabyte version of the WD for $150 or $140. So like, there's also that option too of like, you're not locked in, or you can expand your PS5 right now up to 4 terabytes with that external if you want. And so I get both arguments. I think that they definitely didn't pull a Vita. Or Vita.
Yep.
Or Vita. It wasn't the time for proprietary storage during Vita, and also for a handheld console that was more of a niche product than a mainline console like an Xbox or a PlayStation 5. I think Sony got scared of that, and that's definitely why you're not seeing that with the PS5. I think if the Vita debacle had not happened, they probably would have done a proprietary thing with the PS5, but they're like, no, the customers told us last time that is the wrong call, so we're not doing it again. And for the most part, aside from having to take the thing off and screw it in, I wish that they had made that part a little simpler.
Sure, I agree.
Especially with how easy an SSD is to plug in. Like, why couldn't you just have like a slide out thing? You just slide it out, boom, slide the thing back in.
Yeah.
Like something like that.
Yeah, I will say, like, the installation, I installed the SSDs in this PC. It was the first time I installed NVMe. I'd previously just had SATA 3. It was different, but it's the same thing where you like slide it in at an angle, it comes down, and then you screw it in. Same thing. So like, that's probably why they were just like, we'll just do this. May have been safety to the card, because as opposed to like a USB, like, if you don't get it in just quite right, you'll eventually get it. Maybe it does more damage to the card. I think it allows
for the market to correct prices. I think right now I've seen the WD higher. I think actually the WD with the heatsink right now is $250. So if you get it without the heatsink, it might be cheaper. It is cheaper, obviously, without the heatsink. And they do recommend the heatsink.
Pro tip: you can get third-party heatsinks that work just fine.
Oh, cool.
For $8 to $12, depending on what you're getting. Cool. You can get third-party, so that saves you some money, because like you
gotta make sure it fits, of course.
Make sure it fits, but like Amazon has them, like, and it literally shows you on Amazon, like, here's the size. So for example, the Western Digital, so $199 on sale. So I'm going to just go with regular prices. $229.99 for the 1 terabyte is the regular price. The heatsink bumps you up to what?
I see $250 on IGN Daily Deals.
So you save yourself $30, like $20, like, which is fine. I mean, I'm just saying, there's the options out there. They work fine. You still have to apply it. Don't think that like, oh, I bought the Western Digital like thing, then it's already packaged. No, it's the card. You have to put the heatsink on the storage, even if you buy the package. So it's not going to be any easier. It just comes in and you can get all kinds of fun colors. There's like pink ones. There's like gold, whatever you want to
for
do.
that thing that you're going to cover up with the
Exactly. But you'll know. But you'll know that it's there.
You'll know. Yeah, that's true.
But it'll save you some money. Is all I'm saying.
But what I did see is like literally like the day that beta got announced, there was a price drop on the WD. Yep. Like instantly they were like, oh yeah, I mean, $20 off. And like there was another brand. There's already 4 or 5 brands that have come out and say our drive works. We saw that the Samsung has one. I've seen a couple of other ones that have some good tracking on them, and I'm sure that's only going to increase over time as this version of the drive. I think in the long run, PlayStation probably has the better thing for people who are willing to put in that slightly more effort. And that's kind of the story of PlayStation right now in this generation, is like slightly more effort. It's like, yeah, you don't have Game Pass. We still have great games. They're not out yet. And you can buy them. This drive, you're going to be able to buy a drive that is dope, and you can make it bigger, but you're going to have to put it in yourself. Like, I think that Xbox is definitely taking a consumer-friendly angle in terms of, we're going to take all the thought out of this.
Yes, and I thought Robert's prediction. Robert, fan of the show, his prediction was, and it is probably still going to happen. His prediction was you'd be able to go. They'd have like Western Digital like boxing, where it's like this is the PS5 one, because they'd already done similar things like that. He was saying, oh, you'll just walk in there. I don't know if he'd mentioned that was part of like anything that they'd mentioned, but we haven't seen that. So if they announced it and like like they do with retailers and stuff, they kept it under wraps. They announced it, and then if you go in and you see this is the Western Digital PS5 and it's still the SN0850 or whatever, just put it in a different box or put it as a different listing on Amazon, then it's easy for people to find. This is making people have to research. And it is definitely a thing where Sony was listening to the fans. Sony said, oh, you didn't like the proprietary, we'll go with something else. And we're getting complaints either way. But I think that I agree with you. Like,
people going to complain?
And I'm not saying it's the same people, but it's like you can't win over everyone.
I think Xbox is definitely making a surge with because the funny thing about this is people are calling this consumer friendly, or they're calling it. I mean, maybe it's user friendly is the right word, and not consumer friendly. Because consumer friendly, the competition is much better, but like. People are responding to Xbox, dude. I tried to get into that Halo beta. I did not get in to that test. I'm now signed up for Microsoft's testing, so maybe I can get in one later. But people were loving them some Halo Infinite multiplayer, dude. Yeah. And the sales for Xbox are dope.
That's the other thing that Xbox hasn't been talking about sales, and I will say that. They did call this the Microsoft gaming revenue. So we still don't have the hard numbers, or at least maybe I missed them. Hard numbers on the Xbox sales. No. Yeah. Let's talk about how much money we make, because they're making that off Game Pass. They're making it off of the games and subscriptions. They're still selling those consoles. I mean, they're not hurting.
By the way, revenue does not equal net, ladies and gentlemen.
Yep. So we've got.
Just so you know that they're not actually making money off this. I guarantee they're not making money yet because of Game Pass.
Yeah, I know exactly. For those who don't know what we're talking about, meaning like this does not mean that they literally cashed this and it's liquid. That means that it took them a ton of money and they may be breaking even every single one of these quarters. These broken down by quarter, you get the normal flow of the market throughout the year, depending on what it is, and. Yep. So Q2, that's leading. That Q2 is your last. So their fiscal year starts in July, August.
I'm not a stockholder.
If I'm not mistaken, Q2 deals with their holiday. If I'm not mistaken, which is why you see that Q2, Q1. Where's that? Sorry, second quarter. You see that bump every second quarter. That's holiday, but you can see this nice upward trend going on.
Does what stockholders wanted to, even though, again, as we mentioned many times, Microsoft wipes their rear with Xbox stuff, but stockholders love to see YOY growth, like year over year. If your ramp is up, that means your stock is up. That means your dividends is all right. And by the way, Microsoft is a dividend stock. That's why I should buy some.
My in-laws have some. I need to grab some too. Yeah,
I love dividend stocks, dude. They're my favorite.
It pays you. It's like if you're loyal to us, we're loyal to you. I appreciate that. So
if you're not gonna buy into a fund, and you're not going, and you don't want to deal with selling stuff, get dividend stocks, because at least that way there's always a generation of money versus stock where you're just like, I'm just holding on to it for a while. It's not doing anything until you sell it.
Yeah, and you can look at when to buy. Obviously, go find a thing where it's like, when should I buy this thing or whatever. But yeah, buy it low and hold it. And Microsoft is not going anywhere.
There is no buying it low on Microsoft. You just gotta have to.
It's low-ish.
You have to wait for like a bad day in the market.
I mean, low is in comparison, percentage-wise. Not that it's cheap. I'm talking percentage. I'm talking just percentage number. Percentage. No. But Microsoft, these companies are going to, between this, Teams, and other things that Microsoft is doing, they're fine. And that's why this can be revenue. This is not. It's not net. What we're seeing here is they're going to put all that money in because they're growing that fan base. They're getting everyone embedded. They're making it easy for everybody. And then it'll be a slow change or whatever where they'll start making more actual profit off of it. But they're making so much money off Microsoft Teams right now that they're fine.
Azure, that's the thing with Microsoft, is that they can afford to make themselves the most like customer friendly box, and this is one of those things where they can literally, like, that old adage is like every house in America, like that's something that honestly it really seems like they're striving for, not just the hardcore, but with xCloud on phones, with the fact that they're bringing in the apps on TVs sooner or later, if they're not already out yet. I forget if they're
not on my
Google
TV yet. I'm waiting, but yeah, like Stadia's on my TV.
But we know they're working on it. We know that is coming down the pipeline. It's going to require more Bluetooth for TVs, or some kind of like Bluetooth receiver that kind of, I don't know how that looks yet, but
sure,
it really seems like they have. It really seems like they have an honest, like, dream and goal of like, we want everybody to have Game Pass. We don't care if you buy games anymore. We want 100 million users. We want 500 million users. We want an insane amount of users that don't do anything other than just throw $15 a month at us every single month. That's the dream.
They don't care what else you do. Yeah, they don't care what else you do.
That's what Phil's selling in these meetings. I guarantee it's like, give me 10 years. And I'll give you half a billion subs. I don't know what they're up to right now. I think it's like 20 million. But it's on a freight train though. Like, we're talking about 2 years ago, there was nothing, and now there's 20 million subs. There's more subs to Xbox Game Pass than there was sales of the Wii U. There's more subs to Xbox Game Pass than there was Vita sales. There's like, we're just talking about subscribers to a game service that exists higher than several consoles have gotten to.
And they're going to keep paying that month after month. They're going to keep paying it month after month, year after year.
You're going to forget about it, or, that's the thing to be diligent about, by the way. I'm going to have to be diligent about it because I'm switching back and forth, and there's going to just be times where I want to drop in and pay for a month, or I'm going to be looking for deals. But the deals are getting harder to find on Game Pass because it's so good. It's not like PS Plus where like it's this, kind of, not to diss PS Plus. I think it's a cheap service and you can get it for super cheap and get free games to go with it for $30 a year, but it's not the same service. And when we gobbled up all those months, I haven't seen it be that cheap again since.
So I will say, now that because I paid for a year on discount, I paid for a year discount of PlayStation Now. So in addition to my PlayStation Plus, because I'm like, let's see what this is like, right? because I think it was like $20 or something. I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was like a year of PSN. So I'm like, I get to experience what it's like to be all in on PlayStation. It's still not as good as Game Pass. It's good, but it's still not as good. The selection of games isn't as good. Some of the games you have to stream and you can't download. Um, I'm sorry. It's like even if I buy both, if I have both of the subscriptions, it's still not what Xbox is doing. Xbox, like you said, they just want you to be a subscriber. They're doing a very Xbox thing to say let's just get embedded everywhere, but they're doing it with hardware that's almost very Apple in a let's make the most user friendly interface, make the most user friendly like hardware. It works. You don't have to go research. It's just right. You buy this because it matches with this. You're done. And I love that about them because they could have been, so rigid about being the PC, but they're not. They've kind of grown a little bit. It's either that or they're letting Phil do what he wants to do, and it's working. Because that man's the best thing that's ever happened to Microsoft, or maybe not Microsoft, definitely Xbox, but one of the best things to happen to Microsoft.
In the chat, Jerry mentioned, because we're talking about Microsoft, and this actually I think released on Xbox today, the lawn mowing simulator game. Did you see the trailer for that?
No.
It's actually pretty wild, dude. There's like a career mode to it. You can be like, you could mow your way to whatever. Like, it's definitely one of those things where like I could see it being a completely chill out experience. But no, we hadn't talked about that. And that's Jeremy he shouts us out a lot on his page, and we appreciate it. He
awesome, man.
Launched his own Doghouse Gaming. So if you like watching some streaming gameplay, he streams a lot more gameplay than we do. We try, but he's going like on a semi-daily basis. You can check him over on Facebook.
Yeah, thanks, Jeremy. I've and I agree also with his comment saying if you don't research something before you buy it, you have a problem. I will agree, and I will also throw in there, and I will not rant about this, but I'll just say, just because that person works at Best Buy or just because they work at wherever they work does not mean they know as much as you, or they know exactly what they're talking about.
Unless it's Robert, because Robert is a former Best Buy guy, and you can listen to whatever Robert says. Anytime Robert's in our chat and he starts talking to us, you could probably take what he says.
I agree. I was saying just because there are some great people there. There's some great people there, but there are people who they're pretty.
I work for a very large tech company, and I don't know anything. So
yeah. But when it's like your job to sell something like a TV, and you miss very important aspects of it, and then you sell a very expensive TV to somebody, like maybe know a little bit better. But yeah, I agree. Especially if you're spending a decent amount of money, research so that way you don't have to buy something twice. Because if you don't research, there's always the chance of like, oh shoot, I bought the wrong item. And I can't return it, so now I got to maybe sell it sell it on Facebook Marketplace or something, and someone's going to offer you $10 for whatever it is. Very ASMR-ish is what Doghouse says in there. Farming Simulator, I felt like that once I got it going, but
I couldn't figure that game out, dude. I tried.
It took me a while to kind of figure out like, oh, this is how I need to do this, and then it was like, oh, okay, I get it. I'm done now. I couldn't get into it long term. I have a buddy of mine who got really into it, but like lawn mowing simulator, I need to mow my lawn already. Like I got to psych myself up and force myself to do that anyways. Like I don't want to do that for.
You just do what I do.
What's that? You pay somebody?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'm probably going to do that. I did for a little while. Then I'm like, I can mow this lawn. It's fine.
There's a thing that we did in the house, because I also pay somebody to clean my house, not like do all my dishes and everything, but they come in every 2 weeks, they vacuum everything, wipe down and dust everything.
Yeah.
And the reason we started doing that, and the same reason that we have the mowing thing, is we went with this study that I found of just talking about buying time back in your life. Basically, you're spending your money to have more times to do things that you actually want to do versus things that you hate doing. I don't like doing things like yard work. And I know there's some people who actively do. I have a boss at work. He's like, I love taking care of my lawn. I was like, I hate it. Like, I hate looking at it.
Yeah.
I hate whenever it starts to like get the wrong color, even though I'm watering it all the time or laying down seed and it still changes color. I'm like, I hate it, dude. He's like, oh, I love it. I've turned my lawn into this beautiful thing. I take care of it every weekend. I put my son on my back and I go mowing every couple weeks or however often
Does he live up north? He can't live in Texas.
He lives in Austin.
What?
Yeah, dude.
Like 5 months out of the year, like you don't want to walk outside. Like I feel
That's
like
what I'm saying.
I mean,
so
Florida's hot too, but like you'd walk outside in Texas and I felt like a vampire. I'm like, nope, I can't, I can't be. It's just
so there's that. So we went with this thing. Like she really hated cleaning the house every couple weeks. Like she dreaded it and like would be like in a bad mood about it. And I was like, well, let's fix that. Like, is it a luxury? It absolutely 100% is. But I haven't regretted it one time.
Yeah.
Actually, the only time I have regretted is like they came by and cleaned, and then my like kid made a mess right afterwards on one thing. I was like, I just paid for this clean. That was the only time I like regretted something like that.
Yeah.
But that wasn't even a real regret. I just wiped it up because we just feel better. I haven't had to hear about that dread from her since it started happening. I haven't had to dreaded going outside and mowing the lawn, and so I'm not telling everybody to go spend that kind of money. I went on a website, I found the best deal that I could. Some of it was stupid expensive. I was like, I have a small house. No, sir.
Yep. No, there are places that will charge you way too much. If I'm going to pay for one or the other, like, and I don't like mowing my lawn, but I can get it done in a relatively short amount of time, where cleaning seems to like take forever. I'll just put the headphones on and mow the lawn. Like I can do that and edge and everything in like 40 minutes. So I'm good. I'm good on that. But back to talking about video games and things that I don't know if we want or we don't want. We got a canceled Duke Nukem prequel trailer that leaked.
Stupid. I feel like it was like leak on purpose or something, man.
I mean, it doesn't look great. I mean, it definitely looks, very dated, as everything Duke Nukem has been since they tried to do Duke Nukem Forever. I like that it's a different, like it's third person instead of first person. But is this? I don't think that. I don't know. I don't think that we want this. Like, I don't think that gamers as a whole, or that many gamers, want a Duke Nukem game. Let me put it that way. Sure, some people like may want to play a Duke Nukem game, but I don't know. Is Duke dead? Is Duke dead, or is it just because this is just mediocre?
His time has set. The problem is that Duke the character does not hold up. It would require a personality change, which would then just make it really like not that Duke. And I want to say, like, there's some people who will be like, well, he never should have existed. And like, while that may be true, we just know that things have changed. This isn't the 90s anymore when Duke came out and had a completely different character. And by the way, Duke Nukem actually started as a side-scroller. I don't know if you remember this.
Yep.
Duke Nukem 1 and 2 were side-scrolling games, not nearly as raunchy or anything. They were just a dude, like, there was some lines in there, but he was just fighting aliens. And then Duke Nukem 3D, like, took it into this, like, super machismo, like, thing. And honestly, it played at the time. It worked at the time. It was something that it was like a product of an 80s movie going into the 90s, and it absolutely worked.
Yeah.
But it doesn't really hold up to the social landscape of today.
Agreed.
And so there's just really not room for him anymore. Now there's definitely room for more like single player adventure driven FPSs. Like I want to keep happening. I think the focus on multiplayer is definitely sad sometimes when I want a good first person shooter. That was another thing, even though it was a multiplayer thing. Like, we know that Halo Infinite's going to come with a campaign, and it's like, where's more of these? Like, we have Doom, cool, but where's like maybe something that's not as like heavy like what about something more comedic like a Duke? That's the thing where you want the Duke, where Duke Nukem had those comedic moments that were just fun to play. That kind of thing doesn't have to be dead. We can make that kind of first person shooter.
Agreed. It can be colorful, it can be tongue in cheek and not take itself seriously. That's fine. Corny, all that. What if not only to subvert expectations, but also purposely to like mock Duke and make even more? What if they did a gender bent Duke Nukem as their next game?
That'd be fun.
Like and like great action. Yeah, Dame Nukem or something like that. Like I was thinking like Peggy Carter, right? Like do the same thing, but it doesn't have to have a lot of those tropes, but have it ridiculous, have the aliens coming in there, have the one-liners, make it cheesy and corny, but you don't have to have all the all the baggage and other things that don't necessarily, like you said, they didn't age well. Duke Nukem was a caricature of the 80s super machismo characters, and let's make it even more over the top. It's been dated as much as like it's nostalgic to me. It's ridiculous. And even like I did not like Duke Nukem Forever, and I was hyped for that. That's the last time I did a midnight release, was Duke Nukem Forever. Yeah, how sad is that? I need another one. Like, I need a midnight release so I could say something else was my midnight release.
Breath of the Wild too, but the day of the time of the midnight release is also set with pre-ordering it digitally, which then robs you of your physical copy of the game that you really want to own. Except you really don't want to own Duke Nukem Forever. That game sucked.
Yeah,
that game is so sad.
You know what other thing has had its time? Not mini consoles. I'm fine with mini consoles, but the Amiga. Like the Commodore Amiga, part of me when I saw this, I was like, yeah, I don't know if I want one. It wasn't my console, but the games on it are pretty good games. Yeah. So part of me thought, like, maybe I'll put it on the wall until I saw the price.
Yeah, it's a lot.
It's a lot. It's the more expensive than any of the others.
These like 130
bucks.
130, yeah.
Yeah, 130 bucks. I don't like that game, but there's quite a few other ones. Alien Breed, Doom is on their battle chess. But at the same time, for $130, you can Raspberry Pi all of this. And I'm not condoning getting ROMs and everything, but $130, is it worth it? Why is it $130 when my PlayStation was $70? And the PlayStation, PlayStation has to be more expensive to make than one of these. I just don't understand the price point.
Yeah, I think what's weird about it is like that you have to. I don't know. The thing is, I don't know the answer. The problem is like I'm sure that there's I'm sure that there's somebody that's like, this was my computer growing up. That's who they're targeting with all of these. That's who they're targeting with the SNES Classic that I have behind me and the NES Classic that I have down here. That like everybody's got one, and like that's what the goal is. But I wonder at one point, like in the name of preservation, do we just start loading like just like let's launch a thing where you can pay $50 for every game that ever came out on the Commodore Amiga. Like, here you go. You can have it on Steam, and there's game preservation. Like, I just wonder when we stop targeting, like, all of the nostalgia and just start being like, here's just a game dump. You know, you don't, and, you know, here's a limited edition 8-bit dough controller for your thing or something like that, instead of this whole giant thing that if I wanted it, it's going to take up another space on the wall that I just don't have. But it's gonna, I know that there's somebody out there where it's like, well, I didn't want the SNES Classic, but this was my jam as a kid.
I just feel like that group is a smaller group. I get it, but I feel like that group is a smaller group, and you could say, well, I need to recoup costs, so I need to spend more, like make it more money. But $130, like if this was if this was $70 or $80, it would be on my wall. It'd be pre-ordered. I almost pre-ordered this, or I almost started looking for pre-orders. I don't know if it's up for pre-order yet. Doghouse saying it does have USB for possible ROMs. All of mine are modded for that reason.
Yeah. Mine aren't, because I don't bother with it. I think that's the other thing that they mentioned, is that they're going to allow you to like load in. I don't know if they do like a little mini storefront for a little while where you can buy some in there. I'm not really sure whether that's all working. I think that, again, I think the software is cool. I think that you could have just built that into a Steam thing without having to make me get the Amiga. Like, I think that there's a way that you probably could have made money and not had to buy all this hardware that you now have to sell that will inevitably go on sale for cheaper. I guarantee within 6 months this thing's under $100.
Yeah,
there's no way.
And I'll probably buy it when it goes on sale.
I'd buy it for like 50 maybe. Yeah, I didn't even have one as a kid.
Mine's for
I had a Commodore 64, but
I didn't have that, but I played those games on DOS. A lot of those games I played on DOS or I played elsewhere. Yeah, I may get it for reservation.
Let's have somebody make a 386. Can I get that? Can I request that? Like, can I have a mini 386? That was my first the computer that my parents gave me. There was a Commodore 64 in the house. Mm-hmm. And it's probably still in my parents' garage, to be honest with you. There was another Commodore machine in there that literally never got turned on that I just recall. But the first computer that was ever like, here's your first computer, son, was a 386. I want to say, what was it, 150 hertz? And that was overclocked or something like that. I'm trying to remember.
Yeah.
What was in there? Had a 4 gigabyte hard drive, maybe.
It's crazy.
Not bad.
I don't remember my specs on mine. I gotta ask my dad. I got his hand-me-down PCs, and then my sister's got. If he was doing my sister's got my old PC, or they may have gotten one of his, depending on what it was, until they got older, and they're like, these PCs are too slow, which I feel very bad in hindsight. Because they were, I'm 3 years older than them, so I would get like the newer PC, and then they'd get the slightly older PC. But yeah, like my first games were on DOS. Like that was the first time, because
dude. Yeah, Jill of the Jungle.
Yep, I played Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego
on GOG.
Bard's Tale.
Wolfenstein 3D. Duke Nukem side scroller, Jill of the Jungle, Commander Keen.
We could go on. Like those are some good games. Those are some really good games.
And just think about it, like if they just made a dump of here's all the stuff that was like, here's like the, what do they call it, the shareware era.
Yeah.
Here's the shareware era package. 50 games, $1 a piece.
Doghouse, Oregon Trail. Yeah, Oregon Trail, and there. So many. That was
Mavis Beacon's typing.
In the computer lab, like it was like, all right, once you get your whatever done, like you could play a game. Like Oregon Trail was one of those games. Like so good stuff. Anyways, we could keep talking. I know we went a little late today. Went a little late today, but I think it was good. Bump the last thing next time, or
it's fine. It was just a thing that I saw today that made me chuckle.
Yeah. So let us know what your favorite like childhood memories were. Did you start like old school like we did? Did you start on like the N64? What was like your first gaming? Was it PC or was it console? And are you still in that environment, or did you switch? Let us know in the comments, and we'll see you next week.